feeling, or our activity for judging or perceiving. So thinking and feeling are the two Myers-Briggs types for how you make decisions. Judging or perceiving is how you like to organize your world. So let's start with thinking or feeling, and I'm going to have you do a little activity to give you a similar experience to what you would have had if we had more time in class. So, you are the coach for a Little League baseball team. Your sponsors are only paying for a certain amount of the team's expenses for the out-of-town tournament, meaning you can only take some and not all of the players. How do you decide who goes? So, let's debrief this. In the classroom setting, when I have students do this activity, I usually get one of a few answers. Oftentimes, I will have a group that says, let's have the baseball players go based on who has the best statistics, who has the most hits, who has the best pitching ability. They want to do it by stats, and they say this is fair because we want to bring the best representatives of our team to the out-of-town tournament. Typically, the students who come up with that idea have a preference for thinking. They like to use logic. They like to have a standard that they compare everyone to. So their thought is, hey, this is a game. The goal of the game is to win. What is the logical way that we can best allow our players to win? And that is by taking the people who are the best. And it's not personal. It's not based on we like this person, we don't like this person. No, it's based on math. It's based on statistics. Now, also, there is usually another group who comes up with the idea of, we should take the people who've put in the most effort. The students or the players who show up to every practice. There are people who think, let's fundraise. Let's make sure everyone is able to go, and they really, really do not want to leave anyone out, especially someone who's not going because they couldn't afford the trip. Oftentimes, people in that group are people with a preference for feeling. It's just too painful for them that some kids would be left out. Oftentimes, those who have a preference for thinking also are sad that some kids aren't able to make it, but they feel like that's just kind of part of baseball, is you're learning, that's how the game is played. Whoever does the best gets forward. Now, I also want to say that I have groups of students who have a preference for thinking who also come up with the idea of fundraising. Some other ideas are to have the parents pitch in, and whoever can pay will pay. So people with a preference for thinking and people with a preference for feeling might come up with the same solution. The difference is the way they got to that decision. People with a preference for thinking, they're usually taking themselves outside of the situation, looking at it objectively. What is a fair measure that we can hold everybody to make our decision? People with a preference for feeling are often more concerned with how will this impact the people? Is anyone going to feel left out? Will this cause conflict? Will this disrupt harmony? Will someone be excluded? So those are kind of the driving forces behind their decision making. People with a preference for thinking and people with a preference for feeling are equally good types. They're equally good ways to come to a decision. They're just a little bit different. And I hope that this helps you think, which one am I? If you immediately felt your stomach hurt, like, oh, these students, we can't let these little kids who play baseball not be able to go, you might have a preference for feeling. If you thought, all right, let's figure this out. How much money do we have? How many kids are there? What are the solutions? You might have a preference for thinking. Just remember, everyone uses both sides of the dichotomy. It's just which one feels better to you, which one is more natural to you. So now let's look at our next one, judging or perceiving. I want you to think about the last party or event you planned. How early did you start planning it? What details did you plan in advance? Think about things like guest list, food, etc. What was your timeline for getting things ready? When did you start? What were your milestones? That kind of thing. Go ahead and take a minute and answer those questions. So, when I do this in class, I usually put students together in groups. I put students who have a preference for judging together, and I put students who have a preference for perceiving together. Usually I go around the room and I ask those in the perceiving group how they would plan a party. I'm asking you about the past. Usually I'll say, plan a party, what are you going to do? Here are some responses I've gotten from past classes, from groups of students who prefer perceiving. They say, all right, we're going to throw a party. I usually say, throw a party for your teacher. So they're planning a party for me. And they'll say, okay, we're going to plan a party at the beach, and we're going to hand out flyers to invite people, and anyone who wants to come can come, and it's a potluck, so we don't have to worry about food. Boom, they've planned the party. On the other side of the room, the people with a preference for judging are looking kind of horrified. They're saying, well, how many people are going to show up? What kind of food will there be? How do you make sure everyone knows what to do? When I ask them, plan me a party, often I get something like this. Emily, we decided that we are going to have a fiesta for you because we know that you studied abroad in Mexico and you love Mexican food. So we're going to go to this particular Mexican food restaurant. We are going to hire a mariachi band. We're going to invite all of your friends and your family and all the students in the class. Here is what the menu will be. It will be a buffet. We're going to have enchiladas and tacos. For dessert, we're going to have flan. And we're going to play games at the party. We're going to decorate with those, cool paper decorations that are all cut out and look really neat that you hang around the restaurant. And it's going to be on Saturday, July 10th, and it's at 8 a.m. It's a night party. We're having tacos. And it's at 5 o'clock in the evening, and we're maxing out at 100 people. And everyone will have to leave the restaurant by 8. By 9, we're going to have more fun, right? Okay, so that's just an example. Obviously, I didn't even say it perfectly, but you get the idea. People with a preference for perceiving, they are more likely to keep things open, to be more casual about it. I personally have a preference for perceiving, and I remember telling one of my Counseling 5 classes that my daughter's birthday was coming up, and I had sent out invitations to all the kids in her class. That's a rule now at a lot of schools to make sure no one's left out. So I'd invited like 30 people. Actually, she was in TK, so I think it was 25. Anyway, I invited 25 people, and my class was on Wednesdays, and the party was on Saturday. And I told my class, I said, gosh, I'm still trying to figure out what the theme is going to be for my party on Saturday. But I think I'm going to do fish. And that is what I did. So I went on Pinterest that day after work. I looked up how to make fish decorations, and I made some out of paper and crepe paper, and I made my own decorations, put them all over the wall so it looked like we were in the ocean. I planned the menu that night. I got little croissant rolls that looked like crabs, and the craft is we had the kids make a little treasure box by putting jewel stickers on them, and they all got some seashells to take home. And I decided for a game, we would do a fishing game where they pretend to fish, and the prize is like a little bag of Swedish fish. So boom, I planned it all Wednesday night, and luckily I was able to order it all online and have it arrive within 2 days. And I had a great party on Saturday. But it was interesting to me because a lot of students in the class looked at me in horror as I told them, oh, I'm having a party with like a bunch of people. I should figure out the theme. I should figure out the food. I should figure out the games. That's a very P way of doing things. My husband has a preference for judging. When he plans an event, he plans all that stuff out like 2 months in advance. And we have the guest list, and he sends out the first invitation, and then he sends out the reminder invitation. He checks the RSVP. He figures out what kind of food we're going to order. It's just 2 different ways of looking at the world. One is not better than the other. They're both different. And everyone does a little of everything. So you might have a preference for judging, and you're like, oh man, the last thing I planned was just, hey, everyone come to my house after school's over, and we'll all hang out. And hopefully we'll have enough soda in the fridge for everybody, and I think we've got some chips, and maybe we'll order a pizza. And you might think, oh, but I'm judging, I'm not perceiving. You know, we all use both. Or you might be perceiving and you're like, oh, I really did work hard to plan a party once. So just think about, in general, we all do both sides. What fits you more? Do you like to have all the details decided ahead of time? Do you like to plan it and have it done and figured out? Or do you keep your options open? Are you a little more pressure prompted where you do some of your best planning at the last minute? This is just one little example of an exercise to help you figure out which preference do you feel is truly a match for you. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you're having trouble figuring out which preference is yours, and I will do my best to help you out. Okay, just shoot me an email. I hope you have a great day.